Greetings from Snake Mountain Boat Works on Tuesday, March 26, 2019. Here's an update today on the 1954 Penn Captivator Aristocrat. We are in the process of, I guess I'll use the traditional verb, caulking the seams in the Striptite bottom planking. I have been tormented by this challenge for weeks and weeks. I've done endless research. We've done lots of tests. Traditionally, our approach would be to reach for the Interlux Seam Compound for below water applications. It's a great product. I have nothing against it except that even when heated, it's incredibly difficult. It pays very, very poorly. You need to work across every seam. You need to apply at least 3 coats. And we've had some experience when when a boat we have worked on has come back in, let's say for subsequent bottom painting, or maybe even the owner has decided, I really do want a new bottom. And we start taking things apart. Unfortunately, some of that seam compound is hard and brittle under the paint and has failed. That's not our goal. And particularly with a Striptite hull, the number of seams, when you realize that the, quote, planks, unquote, are about 1 inch wide, just seems endless. So I've been working for several hours this morning with a different product. We've done a lot of testing with this product. This is Total Boat Thixo Flex. It's the Jamestown distributor version of West System G-Flex. They're essentially the same product in that once they cure, they adhere incredibly well, but they remain flexible. In fact, the research I've done on both products suggests that once cured, you can bend that seam, that joint, into a pretty substantial angle, 10-15 degrees, and it will not release. It will not release from wet wood. It actually even can be used and will adhere to wet wood, so they claim. I'm not one to attempt that one. So I've been applying the Thixo Flex to the 1954 Captivator Aristocrats bottom planking seams this morning for the last several hours. And I thought I'd take a few minutes here, set the camera up, and give you a feel for what this process is like. All you need is a nice, quite flexible putty knife with a very sharp edge. Lots of tubes of Thixo. I've gone through 3.5, almost 4 tubes to do the starboard side of the bottom. I would imagine I will end up using about the same amount on the port side. So let's reset the camera and give you a sense of at least how I'm doing it. I'm not saying I'm right, I'm not saying I'm wrong, I'm not saying I'm better than anybody else, but everything I can find out about these flexible West type systems, be it Thixo or the actual West product, suggests that this is an incredible answer. The best part, and the reason why we have chosen the Thixo over the West, is that it is supplied in standard caulking tubes with a mixing tip, so that I can insert it into our pneumatic caulking gun and simply work along the seams and then come back with my putty knife and complete the project. So there's the putty knife. Let's relocate the camera and apply a little Thixo. The first step involves loading the gun and attaching it to an air hose, and then the process is simply one of paying a very substantial, you might guess, or you might say, boy, he's using way too much, but that's okay. We want to force the Thixo all the way down into the bottom of this open seam, so that once it's cured, it leaves behind a sealed surface that is completely watertight, stays flexible when it's cured. So the second step is first to get a flexible putty knife. I tried a very stiff putty knife, and what I found was it tended to pull the material back out of the seam, whereas with the flexible knife, I can force the material down into the seam so that it is filling the seam completely. Now, it's going to leave some waste material on the surface of the planks. We will let this cure, and then after 24, 48 hours, I always believe in extra cure time. It never hurts. And then we will sand the entire bottom so that all this residue has been sanded off and is back down to bare wood. Now let me try to show you another issue you'll come up with as you do this. I'm exaggerating a little bit, putting a tremendous amount extra into this seam and into this seam, and you'll see why in a second. So when I clean this off, I end up with a putty knife full of this material, full of the Thixo. So what I do is start working on the next seam with it. This stuff is not inexpensive as a material. Where the saving is that it'll take me about 2 hours a side, maybe 2.5, to fill every seam up to the waterline. So I will continue paying Thixo Flex from Jamestown distributors into these seams. Then we will be sanding, sealing with clear penetrating epoxy sealer. We will also go through and make sure we don't need an extra fastener here or there. But once we've applied the Thixo, sanded it, sealed it with 3 coats of CPES, then we will be ready to apply the primer, and finally the bottom paint. So that's where we are with the 1954 Penn Captivator Aristocrat. Thank you so much. Bye-bye for now from Snake Mountain Boat Works.